हरिः ओं श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं पदात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि. We had concluded the Balakandam summary last time, and as you know, the story is being narrated by none other than Lord Shiva to goddess Parvati. And their story continues in the Aranya Kandham. In Aranya Kandham starts with Rama sitting in sage Atri's hermitage. And if you remember, towards the end of Ayodhya Kandham, Rama, Lakshmana and Sita, they were in the ashram or the hermitage of sage Atri, and that's where they stayed for the night. And the next day, Rama asked Sage to show him how to get to Dandaka forest. That's where they wanted to spend some time. So Dandaka forest, to go to Dandaka forest, some of the Shishyas or disciples of the great sage showed them the path. And there has been a very interesting discussion between the sage and Sri Rama here also, because Sri Rama is asking what is the way for him to move forward, and Sage Atri is saying, you are the Lord of the universe and you know all the ways, and but still you are asking me this question, but since you asked, I'm going to oblige and give you the direction. So the disciples showed them the direction, and three of them, they walked into the Dandaka forest. And as they walked, Rama warned Lakshmana, saying that this is a very dense forest where the Rakshasas or the demons are there, and they are known to be, they carnivorous, and they will kill any animal, and including humans. And so we have to be very careful. And so Rama asked Lakshmana to walk in the front, Sita in the middle, and Rama the third. And this is also very interesting philosophically, because Lakshmana represents Jivatma, and Rama represents Paramatma, and Sita the Maya. So the Maya is between Jivatma and Paramatma. So as they walked, they came upon a demon who had a big spear, and that spear he had several animals, the dead animals in that spear, and then he was eating fresh flesh, and he looked fierce. And as they walked and they came, he saw these three human beings coming into the forest, and he asked, "Oh, I pity you humans. Why are you here? Because it's a deep forest and it's not a place for people like you and a beautiful lady. And don't you know that this area I own this area, so I'm going to eat you." And promptly, Rama was able to conquer, or Rama and this Rakshasa, this demon, had a big fight, and Rama killed him. And his name was Viratha, and this episode is called Viratha Patham. And there is a beautiful stuti, or praising of the Lord by Viratha, because Viratha was a celestial being. He was actually forced to live in this state, and because of some curse he got. So this Viratha, this demon, was giving a beautiful stuti that is called Viratha Stuti. And because in English it doesn't taste good when you say this stuti in English, but still what he was saying is, "Oh Rama, the compassionate Lord, I was a celestial being, unfortunately fallen because of a curse by Sage Durvasa, and because of your compassion, and I have been redeemed." So later, as they walked, Rama, Lakshmana and Sita, they enter the ashram of Sarabhanga, and another devotee of the Lord. And Sarabanga was saying, I've been waiting for you to see all three of you. And Rama, followed by Lakshmana and Sita, and praising the Lord with the great words of devotion, the sage decided to leave the body. As he was watching, as he was looking at Lord Rama, he left his body. And that is a direct path to moksha, or he redeemed all his karma, and then he attained moksha, liberation. Then the sages in the Dandaka forest. The Dandaka forest had a number of sages, but they were afraid of all the demons because they were obstructing their yajnas and pujas, and also because of that they came and asked Rama, "Oh, protect us, because protect our rituals, our yagas," and they wanted him to be the savior for their work. Rama, we know who you are, and we know who Lakshmana is, and we know who Sita is. So, and also they praised Rama, and then he was able to give the sages protection what they were seeking. And in the course of time, they stayed in different hermitages of different sages, and then they went to see sage Sutishna. And Sutishna is well known, and also he is a disciple of Lord sage Agastya. And then he said, my guru also talked very highly of you, so we both should go and meet sage Agastya. So once they went to, say, Agastya ashram, and the sage Agastya was elated. He was very happy to see the Lord there. I've been waiting for this moment. That's what he was saying. No doubt, this is the fruit of my penance in a lifetime. But being a senior sage, Rama prostrated in front of the sage, and the sage did the same to Rama, and they exchanged pleasantries, and then he said, I was waiting for your arrival, and I know that you're going to kill the Ravanas and other Rakshasas and re-establish dharma here. And there is a beautiful study and a discourse on the complete Vedanta is being elucidated in this discourse, or the discussion between sage Agastya and Rama. And a little bit of that follows like this. Those who are immersed in the studies of Vedas are liberated while living. For those who are involved in self-introspection, wisdom dawns on them on its own. Those who are not keen in learning anything from life will go through thousands of life before being liberated from this cycle of samsara. If they are not devoted to you, there is no hope for them. So the Agastya Stuti, the hymn by Agastya, is a beautiful one, and that is, if you chant that Stuti daily, that is supposed to give the seeker a lot of mental peace and satisfaction. And from there, Agastya, sage Agastya, gave them the direction to go to Panchavadi. And Panchavadi is a beautiful place where they could set up a beautiful hermitage. So Lakshmana took lead in building ashram for them, one for Sita and Rama, and another one for Lakshmana. And they were having a very good time. Although they were living in the forest, they thought it is as good as Ayodhya, because that was they were happy mentally, so they didn't even think about any problems or any limitations of the physical comfort. So on the way, they met Jadayu, and initially Rama thought Jadayu, it's a huge bird, and then maybe that's a Rakshasa or demon in disguise. And then initially he thought of that, but at the same time, Jadayu, the big bird, the eagle, came and talked to Rama and said, I'm not a demon. I'm actually a friend of your father's, and we knew each other from well before. And your blessing is what I'm seeking. and I will see you later. And we know that in the story, Jadayu will meet Rama at a later time within this Aranya Kandam itself. And they enter Panchavadi, and Panchavadi is beautiful. And as I said, it has all kinds of fruit bearing trees, and it was very good place for these people to stay. And during that time, one day, Lakshmana asked Rama, what is to be done as a human being? What are the things to be done? And that is the famous Lakshmana Upadesha, or the advice to Lakshmana. And Rama is giving very detailed explanation of how to do pujas, how to do Kriya Yoga, and what is the principle behind that. Basically, the Vedanta, the gist of Indian philosophy, the Sanatana Dharma is being elucidated by Rama in this Upadesha, Lakshmana Upadesha. And a small bit of that I'll read from my book. Jivatma and Paramatma are synonymous in effect. Ignorant people do not see the oneness in them. When we are devoid of the nasty attitudes of boasting, violence, cunningness, lust and rage, we develop a feeling of equanimity and devotion to the divine. Such a person will develop purity of heart by doing service to the society. A seeker should avoid attachments to his wife and children and try to live alone as possible. He should live thinking about the truths expounded in scriptures and undertake pujas prescribed in them. So that was a very good satsang, and Rama is giving this importance of satsang, meeting the noble people and exchanging ideas. So he was also giving the importance of daily sadhana, and also meeting with the like-minded people who are noble in nature and devoted to Lord. As they were living happily there came a beautiful lady to Panchavadi. And the lady is actually Shurpanaga in disguise. Because if she could change her form any way she wanted, she went, and she was a happy-go-lucky lady. She was actually walking down and then saw this handsome two young men sitting there. And she went to Rama and said, who are you? And who is this person near you? And also, who is this beautiful lady? I haven't seen any lady as beautiful as this. So, what is your story? And he says, I'm Rama, and I'm the son of Dasharatha, and all those stories. He's explaining the story behind his arrival to the forest. And he says, I'm like a mendicant. I'm like a sannyasi who doesn't have anything, and so there is no point in approaching me. Actually, she approached Rama, asking him to marry her, and Rama said, no, I have a wife, and then I cannot divorce my wife and go with you. But then that other gentleman is my brother, and his wife is not with him, so maybe you can approach him. So she walked down to Lakshmana and pleaded, marry me. But he said, no, I'm only a servant to my Lord. So you are actually fit to be a princess. So a princess cannot be a servant maid. So don't come to me. She went back to Rama, and that was at that time Rama, Sita was there, and then when Rama denied her wishes, she caught hold of Sita, and that was that enraged Lakshmana, and then Lakshmana did the unthinkable. He pulled his sword and then cut her nose and breast, and then she fell down like a huge mountain, and then she was wailing, she was crying out, and she ran away. So she ran away and told her brother Kara, and Kara asked what happened to her, and then Kara came back to Rama and Lakshmana and started fighting, and Rama single-handedly killed Kara, and then his brother, Kara's brother Dushana, and Trisira's two brothers were there, and they also came along with 14,000 army. At that time, Rama said, okay, I will take care of these people. So you take care of Sita and then go and sit in a cave. I will kill all these people. And within 3.5 hours, Rama killed all these 14,000 people, and the word got around, and Rama said, Lakshmana, there is going to be big trouble now because these people are related to Ravana. So Ravana would be coming, and then he will avenge because of the death and also what happened to their sister. So Kara, Dushana, Trishira, and 14,000 soldiers were all dead within 3.5 hours, and then they were all actually redeemed from their karma, and then they became celestials immediately after their death. So Rama said, Ravana will not sit quiet. So let us be careful and also be ready to fight the demons. So Agastya had given these, Rama and Sita and Lakshmana some gifts, and actually the sages gave these gifts. One is a Chudaratna that Sita took, and a ring was there, a diamond-studded ring that Rama took, and there was a body armor that was taken by Lakshmana as well. So Surpanaga goes to Ravana and complains, and then along with the complaint, she also said, there is this beautiful lady, she is so beautiful that only you will be a match for her. And when Ravana heard, this lady is such a beautiful lady, and that is incomparable among humans, asuras, or demons, or devas, he was smitten by love, and he said he wanted to meet with this lady and possibly get hold of her, and also that way he can avenge the insult received by her sister as well. So he goes to meet Maricha, and Maricha is an uncle to Ravana, and Maricha, and he is a master of disguise. He can turn himself into any form, any human or animal form, and then he is capable of all that. So Ravana went there and then said, Maricha, I need your help. And Ravana told him the plan. The plan was to, make Maricha to turn himself into a beautiful deer to attract Sita, and then while Rama and Lakshmana will be chasing this animal, I can abduct Sita and take her to Lanka. That was the plan. So Marija said, no, this is a very bad idea, because those who advised you on this is actually not a well-wisher for you. They mean really real calamity for you and your people. But Marija and Ramana was insistent, and Marija thought, if I don't obey to this wretched fellow, I will be facing death from him. But if I do this disguise in front of Rama, Rama may kill me, and that will be end of my karma, and that will redeem me of all my sins. So he preferred the death by Rama rather than by Ravana. So he decided to agree, and he goes to Panchavadi in the guise of a beautiful deer, and then the deer was actually running around and then attracting Sita, and there is a beautiful explanation of how the deer was running around. I'll read a little bit from here. The deer had silver dots on its golden skin, and they shone in the sunlight. Its eyes were like blue diamonds with a glittering light inside. It ran hither and thither, jumping, teasing the onlookers. It would look at you with a loving gaze and would run away if you approach it. Running from one bush to the next one, chewing on fresh green grass and leaves, it reached Rama's ashram. Sita saw it and fell in love with the cute deer instantly. So immediately Sita said, I need this deer. I want to keep it as my pet. So Rama said, no, it may be an asura or a demon in disguise. But she said, no, 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 I want this deer. And uh, so Rama ended up going for this deer. There is a story a bit before that. Rama and Sita were having a discussion, and Rama said, there is going to be a lot of trouble, and I don't want you to be touched by Ravana, or you to be in trouble with to have face all these problems. So because of that, why don't you hide yourself in the yajna fire, and then we can create a Maya Sita. A Sita is a replica of the Sita, so that that Maya Sita will be facing all the troubles and facing Ravana. So when Rama went to hunt this beautiful deer, the deer was so playful that it ran away and away, and then Rama had to follow it. And after a while, there was a big cry coming out of from the forest, saying that, "Oh, Lakshmana, help me! Lakshmana, help me!" So uh, Lakshmana was ready, but Sita heard this and said, "Lakshmana, go and help your brother." But Lakshmana said, "No, no, no, that's not my brother's voice. He will not cry like that." Although his voice is, the Marija was very good mimicry in doing mimicry, so he was mimicking Rama's voice. But then Lakshmana knew that it wouldn't be Rama, because Rama cannot be killed by these meager Rakshasas or demons. But Sita was insistent. So Sita said, go and help your brother. I think you have some bad intentions on me. That's why you are being reluctant. But that was too much for Lakshmana to hear, and Lakshmana decided to go and see Rama. So Lakshmana also goes in search of Rama, and during that time, Ravana came as in the guise of a sage, and then went to Sita and asked for alms. And as a Pichamdehi, that is, he was begging for food and other things, that is allowed by for a sage to do. So Sita, as a dutiful wife of a householder, said, "Please rest here for a while. My husband and his brother will be coming, and in the meantime, I will give you some water to quench your thirst. And then after that, my husband and brother will welcome you in the proper way." But of course, Ravana had different plans. Ravana said, "Oh, beautiful one, you are the embodiment of Panchabana, that is the Cupid. So I'm not a rishi, actually. I'm Ravana, and Lanka is much more opulent than even Ayodhya." And then he tried to you know get her to come out of this hermitage. And then as soon as she came out, giving him the water, he caught hold of her and abducted Sita, and then put her into his chariot, and the chariot was like an air chariot. So he started flying above in the sky, and that was the abduction of Sita. And as he was moving there, the huge bird Jatayu encountered Ravana, and then there was a fierce fight between Ravana and Jatayu. And unfortunately, Jatayu met with the Chandrahasa sword, the mighty sword of Ravana, and his both his wings were cut off by Ravana, and he fell down on the ground. And Sita noticed it, and Ravana continued his journey. And on the way, what Sita did was Sita saw on top of a mountain a few monkeys were sitting, and then she thought, if my husband comes this way, he will come across these monkeys, and then he may be able to get a direction, uh, in which direction I have been taken by this demon. So what she did was she collected all her ornaments and then tied it in a piece of cloth and then dropped it so that the monkeys could get hold of it, and they did. And Ravana took her to Ashoka garden, that is in Lanka, and Lanka was as he said, it was a beautiful place, and the garden was well managed and mended by uh, Ravana's servants. So Rama and Lakshmana came back to the hermitage, and then they found that Sita is missing. And that time Rama said, Lakshmana, it was wrong for you to leave Sita alone. But Lakshmana said, I couldn't stay there because her words were as pointed as spears that are going into my ears. So I had to leave and then come in search for you. But now we don't know where Sita is, and maybe the demons have abducted her, and probably they might have even eaten her alive. So they were distraught, and uh, they continue to walk in search of Sita. And very interestingly, they had a beautiful hermitage in Panchavadi. But the moment Sita was abducted and they knew about it, they just left everything, and then they had just the bow and arrows, and then they walked in search of Sita. And then as they walked, they met Jadayu on the way. And Jadayu was lying down without wings, and then he was about to die. But then Sita had given him a special blessing, saying that you will not die until you meet with my Lord Rama. So Jadayu meets with Rama, and Jadayu tells him all what happened. Ravana is the one who abducted Sita Devi, and what happened, all what happened was described to Rama. And then Jadayu said, just to put your hands on my head and let me leave this world, because this is the most blissful and blissful moment anybody can have. The Lord is here. Lord is actually touching my head as I am passing. So so saying, Jadayu did a wonderful stuti, and this is a beautiful stuti in this kandham. And he says, salutations to Rama, salutations to the Lord who has no beginning and end. My prostrations to the Lord of the universe, who is nothing but Paramatma, the ever-present, omniscient and omnipotent witness consciousness. And he continued his chanting, and the brothers cremated the great bird Jadayu as if the bird was like a human being. So all the respects were paid to Jadayu's cremation, and that was conducted properly. And as they moved further, they came across a mysterious creature called Kabanda, and Kabanda doesn't have head; it has only the body. And there was a fierce battle between Kabanda and Rama killed Kabanda. And this demon also was a celestial and succumbed to some sage's curse. And then finally, he was the one who directs Rama and Lakshmana to the ashram or the hermitage of Sabari. Sabari is a tribal woman, very devoted to the Lord, and her life was completely in devotion to the Lord, so much so that she forgot everything else with all the wild berries and wild fruits. And both princes enjoyed the reception, and Sabari expressed her happiness of having met the Lord. And she also told them her background, and she says, after getting the vision of Lord Rama, you can leave your body. That is the blessing I got from a sage, and that's what I'm getting now. That's what I'm facing right now. I do not have any discrimination between. So Rama said, I do not have any discrimination between man, woman, animals, or their caste. I'm interested only in their devotion. Devotion is the only way to achieve liberation. Going on a pilgrimage, visiting temples, or doing sacrificial rituals, etc., are all good. But no one will get to see me except when they are devoted to me with one pointed vision. And that's what Sabari was. She had one pointed vision of the Lord, and there is a beautiful discourse of the whole Vedanta is being elucidated here in the Stuti. Sabari Stuti is also very beautiful. And she says, you are omniscient and still ask us to tell you about something you already know, but I will oblige as a matter of good conduct. Sita Devi is residing in Lanka, grieving profusely, always thinking about you, Rama, and chanting your name. And after giving this information, she also passes away. And she jumps into the Yajna fire, and then she gets liberated. Thus, the Lord completed the Dandakaranya episode, and then the helping all the sages to conduct their yajnas and their rituals, and finally giving liberation to so many noble souls, starting from Viratha, then Sutishna, and Sabari, of course, Kabanda, Sabari, and all those. So they continue their trek in the forest, and the Aranya Kandham is concluded, thus saying the beautiful name of Rama, chanting Ramanama. Lord Parameshwara concluded the Aranya Kandham as he was telling the story to Mother Parvati. सर्वत्र गोविंद नाम संकीर्तनम गोविंद हरि गोविंद राम 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 हरि ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः.